Welcome back to the Lou Perez Podcast. My name is Lou Perez. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you could leave a 5-star review, that would be amazing. Whether you're a longtime listener or first time, 5-star reviews are lovely. And I just might read yours on the air. How about that? A lot of big things happening. One of the biggest is I have a book coming out. It's titled That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, and it's going to be published by Bombardier Books, Post Hill Press. So that's coming out later this year. To stay up on release dates and all that, please check out my newsletter at thelouperez.com. And you can also join my community at thelouperez.locals.com. If you haven't been on Locals yet, if you join up, you get to listen to my podcast early. You'll get to watch my sketch comedy early. And also you have access to exclusive content and me. If you're looking for other ways that you can support me, you can do so by supporting my sponsors. If you're into CBD products, please check out palomaverdecbd.com. And if you use promo code Lou, you'll get 25% off purchases over $75. And if you're into cold brew, check out Black Organic Cold Brew. www.blvckbrew.com and use promo code Lou for free shipping. All right, I think that's about it. Let's go. I'm very happy to be joined by my next guest. His name is Camino Chavez. He's a political and social commentator, and he's a contributor to Scoon TV. Scoon.tv. Yeah, Camino, did I pronounce that right?
Camino, that's it, man. And I want to thank you, Luisito, for uplifting my marginalized Latinx voice.
Thank you,
on your program, man. It's really it means a lot to me.
Oh man, I gotta say it could be very lonely for a Latino to be out there all alone on Twitter. But then, you go out there, you put your tweets out, and then you find an hermano out there in Camino Chavez. I'm not alone. We're together on Twitter all the time, man.
Yeah, we're tag team champs out there, man. It's tough. It's tough for marginalized Latinx individuals like ourselves. But we're trying to survive out there.
Yeah, well, apparently Latinx was trending today or over the past few days. Do you know why? Why it was trending?
I think so. I think it was who was it? Let me see. It was there was something about Disney. Somebody
Zorro,
was
right?
Oh, Zorro. That's what it was. Yeah, I saw a Disney comment because they're going to do America Chavez is going to be in one of the Marvel movies, and somebody said something like it's like they're going to say Latinx. I'm going to turn it off. But I think the main one was the Zorro thing. There was going to be a female Zorro, and they referred to her as Latinx.
Yeah.
They just will not put that to rest, huh? They just will.
No, it won't. Well, you know what's funny? Yesterday, there's a local, my local coffee shop, and the owner is great. He's a really sweet guy, and all the guys who work for him, they're all Latin, so they're like Mexican, all that. So he's learning words, and we just got to talking about how there's some words like. You say it in Peru, it's fine, but then you say it somewhere else, it's like, whoa, that's a bad word. And I remember learning that Zora, which is like fox, is a bad word for a woman. It means like pussy. So right now when you're casting a young lady or a young, Latinx, whatever, to play Zorro, you're setting yourself up for all of this really dirty, double entendres that you're going to be hearing on like, I don't know, La Mega or whatever whatever the radio station is.
La Mega. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I thought Zorro had like a sexual connotation to it.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a slut, or is it like or is it like the how do you say with a ladies' man for a guy, mujeriego or something like that? Mujeriego?
Not sure.
It's like a ladies' man player word that's like kind of derogatory for man.
Yeah,
it's like a womanizer basically in Spanish. But Zora, I thought that meant like a slut or something like that. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be there's gonna be some a lot of jokes online.
Yeah, and I wonder because I think Robert Rodriguez is either directing the project, and it's like it's like, did he write that copy? Was he all about what, did he write that log line, or did it come, did it come from above? Because for a few years now, it's been a big joke, especially among, Latinos and Hispanics, that it's like, who's pushing this shit? We don't know anybody who says this about themselves. And you think that it dies down for a little bit, and then it's like, all right, look, if we can't get your abuelita to start saying this shit, we got to find a way to get to get it out there.
They're gonna call Trump if they don't get abuelita to start saying this. They're gonna call ICE. Right. It's funny. I think it's like probably like 1% of like Latino kids in college probably say it, like if it's any Latinos, but it's mainly, upper middle class white people that are like, think they should say it, think they have to say it to be inclusive, I guess, gender inclusive, I think. And it's just, these people happen to be in charge of like so many social media, their social media managers or their editors, and they feel like, yep, this is what we say now. This is what we do. And this is like, how to be gender inclusive or whatever. And I think most Latino people are just like, what the hell is this? What word is that? Yeah.
It's ironic because the word itself, it's supposed to be inclusive, but yet it feels like it's just so exclusive. Like it's just excluding, so many people who don't even know where it comes from. And I'm not a Spanish speaker. I'm not a native Spanish speaker. But I remember I know the argument from a lot of people who, speak Spanish, where it's like, hey, that doesn't make any sense in Spanish, like quit. I forget if someone actually wrote it was a pretty good essay just about, it's like, here you are like sort of colonizing or, anglicizing, right, or attempting to the Spanish language,
or a bastardization of the Spanish language, right. From Anglo speakers. Right. And I think they have a great point. It's something that they seem to be like kind of trying to force on people. I think it makes more sense in print. Like I still don't like it. I'm not going to use it, but it makes more sense in print because you're like, all right, well, we're going to include either the A or the O. But when you say it out loud, it's like really like, to me, it's like Latinx, like now, like that's verbally, it's just like ridiculous, I think. But either way, it's just like, for me, it's like, I just refuse to even say it because I just feel like it's one of those words that they invent to kind of push a certain agenda, push like a progressive agenda where this is the way we all think. This is the way we're only allowed to think. And we're going to, this is it. And if you don't speak that way, then that means you're outside of the club and maybe you're like an alt-right, racist or white supremacist or whatever. And it's like, I feel like a responsibility to be with the people who first of all, most Latino people don't like saying it, but just anybody who's like, feels like they're going to be pushed in that category if they don't use this terminology, whether it's that terminology or, other terminology you hear from the left.
Yeah. And it's funny because for at least most of my adult life, I have been very much against, I guess we call it identity politics, or the idea that somehow because of my last name or the fact that my dad is an immigrant from South America, that has imbued me with some wisdom, above others. Right. But this is a funny thing because it's like, seeing this word, I'm like, what the fuck did you call me? Like what? Like it's sort of, it cut through, all of my, my attempt, to be above, identity politics. But here's something where it's like, wait, what are you calling me, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of the things, like, as Latinos, you can kind of take it, you could take ownership of this, and honestly, I feel like, and I was going to talk to you about this, I feel like the left has kind of, progressives, Democrats, they've kind of quit pandering to Latinos so much in recent years. And I think it's because they're starting to figure out that like a lot of Latinos are conservatives or libertarian, and they find that they kind of they don't really have their back. They're not really supporting them. And I think they're just like, I think they lost even more voters to Trump in the last election, if I'm not mistaken. And they, you expected the opposite because they were going 4 years of like, Trump called Mexicans rapists and they're not sending their best and all that stuff. And, and that's true. Some of that stuff is true. And some of it's kind of out of context, I guess. And I'm not a Trump supporter, so I'm not here defending him. But the funny thing is, you'd expect that after so much of that media messaging, that there would be less Latino supporters of the Republican Party or the conservatives, because they would be like, they obviously hate us. They're racist against us. They want to get rid of us. But there's been more. And I think what the left doesn't understand, because they're so identity politics focused and so focused on like race all the time, they just assume that if you're, non-white or whatever, that you must just be on the left and you must support Democrats, obviously. Right. And they do that with black people as well. And they don't realize like Latinos are very, very conservative in a lot of ways. Like if people from Latin America in particular, a lot of them are very religious. A lot of them are very Catholic. They're very family oriented. They're very against political correctness. I think, I don't know if you've noticed that amongst Latinos, your family, we make a lot of inappropriate jokes. Like I've my Latino friends, we make a lot of it. We've been doing it forever, for decades. Like
everyone in my family lives very inappropriate lives. That's sort of, well, there's something to, like even before you even get to, Latinos being, maybe, being a little bit more conservative. It's the fact of the matter is that there are all different kinds of Latinos and
of course,
there's all these different cultures there. And I think where the left really made a mistake is to try to paint Latinos as this monolithic, voting bloc. And because because Cubans have always, always shucked that, they've always been like, but you're not going to get the Cubans to vote for, of someone on the left, but maybe the rest, will do it. And I think a lot of people, especially in the last election, were basically saying like, kind of a play on James Baldwin. I'm not your Negro. It's like, I'm not your Latino. You don't own me. You don't own my vote. And I'm going to make, my individual choices.
Right. And I think to that point, I also want to make clear, like, because, it might sound like I'm being, painting Latinos as a monolithic, they're all conservatives, and I'm not. My point is to say that they're like, there's probably a lot more Latino conservatives than the left. Well, certainly a lot more Latino conservatives than the left realize. And they don't seem, many of them don't seem to understand, especially the woke identity politics ones, don't seem to understand that the conservative politics a lot of Latinos have, like a lot of them came like my parents' generation came from during the Reagan era, so they love them, and all of them, like almost my whole family except for my dad actually is conservative on my Costa Rican side. So and that's just my family, but I realized, and I lived in Costa Rica for a while. And you could see like there's very few atheists over there, for example. Like, they all believe, even if they're not really devout religious people, they all believe, yeah, of course there's God, of course Jesus is a savior, of course we're going to respect the Virgin Mary, stuff like that. Like when they're Catholics, and they're frequently Catholic. But you're absolutely right. And I think it's weird that, like, I find it weird that the left, frequently the very educated left, doesn't seem to learn from their mistakes, and they don't. They just keep on pushing, like they did with the Virginia election, keep on pushing this thing of like, oh, we lost because white supremacists scared everybody, and white supremacists controlled everybody. And it's like, no, the vote also showed that plenty of non-white people voted for a Republican governor, and it's you see that frequently. Like that's just always the answer for everything is white supremacy and white nationalism and racism, and it's just like that. I think that's just continuing to get older and older for a lot of people that are not in that bubble. Yeah, and I'm, look, to be clear too, I'm not like a conservative really. I'm a moderate. I actually used to be like a Bernie supporter like 4 years ago. Like for most of my life I was pretty far in the, like I was like a George Carlin leftist kind of thing, you know what I mean? So, like, kind of hating the corporations and how everybody screws you and the government doesn't listen to you, all that stuff. So, and I get that, I get those arguments, and there's some legitimacy to them, but I've been really pushed to the right by the identity politics, by the woke stuff, it's kind of it's become a bit of the anti-racist cult. And the media bias, that's clearly the media and the tech bias against like conservative views and libertarian views and even moderate views.
Yeah.
So I think people are tired of it, you're starting to see it.
Yeah. And I think there's also something to, like I said, I'm the son of an immigrant, and my dad came here. My dad didn't even graduate high school.
I mean, neither did my dad. That's funny.
He got kicked out of high school. I think it was probably like his maybe sophomore year, something like that. And he fucked around in night school, but he was like a young kid, and there were like adult women in night school. So his mind was there. And he was a butcher. He came to the U.S. in the late 70s. Worked his ass off. Just worked really, really hard, and is a success and succeeded. Right. It's really hard for me to look at that guy and to say that I'm oppressed. So, it's really hard to look at people coming from the developing world here and making lives for themselves, and then trying to get them to believe that this is the worst country in the world, that it's a racist country, that they can't make it, they're being held down. But meanwhile, they're like, but wait a minute, we're just putting our kids through college. We're putting our kids through, our kids are becoming doctors and all that. What are you trying to sell here? So I think the oppression narrative is also something that is, I think it's pretty condescending to a lot of people as well.
As it should be. I totally agree. I mean, like, one thing they don't seem, the people who believe this stuff don't seem to ever address is like, why is there constantly people who like drop everything in their lives and risk coming to this country, but they don't even know the language. People coming out across the boat in Cuba, and like makeshift rafts, or people coming in and they know they're going to start from the bottom. Right. And they don't know, they're not citizens, and they don't know English, but they still do it. And they still are very grateful to do it. Right. And it's like, why are they doing that? Like, why else would they do that unless this country is the land of opportunity? And it's not, maybe there's less opportunity in some ways, and there's definitely wealth inequality, and there's things to address, but it's still the land of opportunity. Like it's still, there's people still, you don't see people trying to escape this country on boats to go to Latin America or go to Australia or go to Africa or whatever. Like people tend to stay in the United States, like, and tend to live here or come back. Right. Because it's a good country to live in. And it's really, if you think about it with some perspective, Bill Maher had a good segment on this, about learning what real oppression is after the, do you watch Bill Maher's show at all, Real Time? Because he has a lot of good segments against anti-woke segments.
Yeah, I haven't been a regular watcher for a few years, but every now and then I'll probably catch a clip that comes out. It's usually a clip where either he angers the left, or he's apologizing for saying the N-word. Those are the only. But when he apologized to Ice Cube or something like that.
That was funny, man. I'm a big fan of Bill Maher. I don't agree with everything, especially since I've been kind of leaning to the right lately. But he does at least every other week he has a whole segment attacking the woke left, and it's brilliant. It's some of the best stuff you're going to find.
I think it says it definitely says something about, and he's been doing this for years. I was a huge fan of his with Politically Incorrect, and that was I'm probably dating myself.
No, I know that. I remember that. Yep.
But he does. I think it's a testament to when somebody ends up pissing off their base a good percentage of the time. So I mean, his audience is kind of notorious for being like seals that are just fucking clap and all that. And I love when he tells them to shut up.
Oh yeah, he does it all the time. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, but then knowing that what he's putting out, that some of the stuff he's putting out there is going to piss off his fans, I think that says something that's pretty positive.
Oh yeah, I mean I think he's definitely been Mr. Orange Man bad and stuff, but he's always been a pretty nuanced thinker, and I think he cuts through the bullshit, and he's definitely not afraid to say what he wants to say. He says a lot of politically incorrect stuff still. And even that part where he was you're talking about where he apologized for saying the N-word, that was actually funny to watch, because you could tell he didn't really want to do it, and he didn't really hide the fact that he didn't really want to do it. And I respect that. He's like, all right, I have to do this so people I don't get fired. But he didn't really try to I remember he apologized, and then they kind of I think Ice Cube was trying to ride him on it. And he was like, all right, whatever, dude. Like he's basically, that was kind of like his attitude. He's like, all right, let's move on. This is stupid.
I'm
like,
sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. But I said the N-word. I'm sorry. Okay.
He's not the guy to apologize. But anyways, he has some really great segments. And to bring it back to what I was talking about, so he's talking about after Afghanistan, after like Biden like had that terrible exit from Afghanistan, right? And like there's people hanging on planes and all that going on. He kind of did a whole segment about like, this is what real oppression looks like what they're doing to women right now, and he mentions all these different countries, like I think he said like the inflation rate in Venezuela is like 1,000-something%. And like he gives all these facts and it's like, none of this ever enters the echo chamber of the left, like ever. Unless Bill Maher says it, or Joe Rogan, maybe if any of them are listening to him anymore, you know what I mean? So it's like it's like there's just like no acceptance or even understanding or awareness of these realities. And they literally, like you said, some of them on the communist, socialist, Marxist type people, which is an increasing number of people I'm seeing on social media and even on like in the media, like really think this country's like one of the worst countries in the world, like the great Satan. And I'm just like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? Like you are living a plush life in Brooklyn or in Portland. And the worst thing that happens to you is like, Antifa might come by and destroy your coffee shop. Like, I mean, like what are you talking about?
That kind of sucks. If
it does suck.
If you really like that coffee shop. But I think, I think it's something too, where it's just, I don't know. I think I probably live in kind of an echo chamber too, where I mean I'm like right now I'm married and I have two kids under 2 years old, so I'm in that echo chamber, and it's a humbling it's a very humbling experience when I have absolutely no control over if my kids are crying or especially if they shit themselves. No control over that.
I have no control over that either, man.
Yeah.
Whether I shit myself.
Man.
Nowadays, so.
Well, I know how to change. I know how to change diapers.
That's good.
But as far as like, I worry too about my own echo chamber. Like when I go online, it's sort of, I have, I guess, my kinks that get me pissed off. That I, will. Perhaps I'm blinded to, to other. Blinded to some truths in a way, but I don't know if I know I need to get over that and to to fight against that, and to try to open myself up more. But damn, it's fun to sort of close off your mind a little bit and just and just go at the battle the dragon.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of tribalism. Of course, I think everybody in the world is guilty of this pretty much, and myself included. Like, I definitely listen mainly to, the people I listen to, like a lot of like IDW type people, like moderate, disaffected left people, liberal people like that. I'm not so much deep into like definitely not into like the MAGA necessarily echo chamber and stuff like that. But there's like Barry Wise and stuff and Melissa Chen and those guys, those ladies, I should say. And Jonathan Haidt, I love, his work. I think I want to say while I'm on here, The Righteous Mind is a great book. I think everybody should read that.
I have it behind me. I haven't read it yet. So behind me.
Oh, you should read that, Lou.
Yeah. So I'm going to show everybody just a little bit. For those of you who are just listening, let me paint a picture for you. So this is my home office. And we've been here for months and months and months, and finally I got some bookcases, and they're cheap ass bookcases. They're wobbly. They're probably going to fall down. But this is my zen where I get my books. These are all the books that I've read actually, and then behind me are the books that I still need to read, and one of them is Jonathan Haidt's. And for anybody out there who has kids, like you forget how to read. I have to relearn how to read, so I could actually, the idea of sitting down and like holding pen and paper, and all that. But I'm sorry. I was taken away from, you were talking about Jonathan Haidt, The Righteous Mind.
Yeah. So, I hope you figure out your illiteracy problem, Lou. But when you do, you should definitely read Jonathan Haidt, the Righteous Mind. Everybody, a lot of people have been talking recent years about The Coddling of the American Mind, which is a great book, and it kind of like really encapsulates like what's been going on recently, which is very relevant. But The Righteous Mind, I think, is like a really like groundbreaking psychology book, like social psychology, moral psychology book. And he takes, you can see in The Coddling of the American Mind, he refers to it a lot. But that book kind of helps everybody understand. I think if everybody read that, the world would be a way better place, just because it helps you understand the other political sides, and understands like why are people like, because like the left probably thinks of most conservatives that they're either really stupid or they're really terrible people. Like they're just bad people. They're selfish. They don't care. They're racist. And the right, some people on the right, a lot of people on the right probably think of the left like they're just so crazy and immature and whatever. And that book kind of helps explain why there's political sides and where that comes from. And it's like a morality thing. It's a moral. Is it
sort of is it kind of hardwired into us? Because is that one of the
to a degree? And I would say for me, like I used to be like on the farther on the left, and I used to be the one like
me too.
So talking trash to all conservatives are stupid, and oh my God, like grow up, the religion's not real, we're not living by this mythology, whatever. And that book helped me understand, and I flip, so you can flip, but a lot of it's based off of kind of like your temperament, I guess, and like your just certain things that you have. And I think it is hardwired. I think it's a good way to put it, where like certain things where you just feel like this is wrong and this is right. Like for example, if you're, the right doesn't like freeloaders, right? That's one thing that he mentions, and that's something that the left doesn't care so much about. So there's like a real sensitivity to that, and for humanity in general. So like you don't want to, if somebody's not carrying their weight, they don't really deserve much. That's what the right feels like usually. The left's like, oh no, we got to carry, you don't know their story. We got to take care of everybody. And the right's not as sympathetic to that. So that's like one of the moral things. Another one is like loyalty. The left isn't quite as loyal, like to their country or tribe necessarily. They're fine to like disrespect authority, disrespect the flag, disrespect the country. And the right is very, that's a sacred thing to them. And the sacredness in general is something that the right seems to be. I mean, the left has their own sacredness. Right now, he kind of mentions that what's sacred on the left is the victim, right? So it's like anybody, the most victimized person, the trans black woman who's also a lesbian and Muslim and has disabled is like Jesus Christ on hanging on the cross. Like she's the most oppressed person on earth, and like for them, like that's all that matters. Like for the new left, for the new woke anti-racist left or whatever, it's all about that. So if you're the straight white male on the top of the intersectional diagram or whatever, then like you're almost like the enemy to them in a way, it seems like. And I mean that's basically how they express it, and I think that's basically how they a lot of them, not all of them, some of them are more nuanced obviously, but kind of like they begin, after reading so many of these pamphlets and books, like they start to have an emotional animus against like white people, I think, and white males and straight white males, because they're just like, man, these people just stand in our way and they're oppressing everybody. They don't want to help anybody and all of a sudden that's what they believe. And it's very, it's very, to me, it's actually pretty racist and sexist if you really think about it, and lacking in context. I really loved your sketch on with the SJW therapist.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and like that was like beautifully. I think I shared it again on Twitter. I'll probably be sharing that for a long time, and hopefully there'll be a day where I don't have to anymore. But I think it really encapsulates this new type of, really like seemingly openly racist and sexist, like SJW leftist progressive person who just like thinks you're a white male, like stop complaining. Nobody cares about your problems. We don't need to even talk about them in politics. And then they wonder how so many people in the Midwest and like in more generally white communities are like, all right, this isn't speaking to me. What do you guys don't care about us at all?
For those of you who are wondering, it's social justice warrior therapist, and I produced that with We the Internet TV a few years ago.
We the Internet, right? Yes.
So I play Lewis in it, who is a straight white man who seeks therapy.
Yeah. Who
seeks therapy, and the hilarity ensues. Something I wanted to talk about. About I have this issue where if somebody's nice to me, I have a tough time being. I'm a lot more accepting to people who are nice to me, and if I have like a good experience with someone. So you could be, you could probably be like a guard in a gulag, but if you open the door for me and like wish me a good day, like I'm gonna have a tougher time, calling you out on your stuff. But I think like everything, there is a limit to that. So I've anybody who has lived their life, part of their life online, has gotten to the point where I remember just giving people a little too much leeway, too many grains of salt. I was taking their shit with, and then eventually I was like, wait a minute, who the fuck is this person? Like, wait, I met them like 10 years ago, like twice, and we had a nice conversation, and then now they're sort of injecting themselves into my life, and everything that I'm writing and all that. I'm like, screw that. At some point you got to cut the cord.
In what way are you talking about? Like with your sketches and people would disagree with them, or
or some people just I mean, obviously I throw a lot of bombs. I put a lot of bombs out there.
Hell yeah.
And I've been guilty of like I want people to like my stuff, and I want people to like my stuff and to think that it's great and all that. It's like, no, asshole. Like you're putting out some controversial stuff. You're gonna get pushback, and you have to fucking deal with it. But for me, in interactions, there is a way of having, I think, fruitful interactions with people, and then interactions that just go nowhere. So at some point, I just start. You got to start calculating, like, is this going back and forth worth more of my time than and most of the time it's not. So just getting to a point where you put your work out there, and then let the people do with it what they will. And
oh yeah, you can lose some people who you had so many good memories with and close friends with, if you start putting out some kind of political stuff that just goes against everything that they know to be right.
Yeah.
And they went to school for this. They have a couple degrees in it. They watch MSNBC every single day, and they're just like, I know for a fact that the Republicans are basically evil, and this is the racist administration, and Lou's out here putting a video out trivializing this experience of marginalized people or whatever, they're just like, they're totally blocked off to it. And you can lose friends. I think I have lost a couple that way. I was going to ask you, have you lost a lot of friends or close friends or a lot of people that's kind of unfollowing you that you had some good connections with in the past? Because of that, because of your content?
Not that I notice. I don't really, if it's happening, I don't really notice it. I guess the one place that I see it is, I have a newsletter. If you go to thelouperez.com, you can sign up for my newsletter, and I don't send it out, too often. Probably maybe at most once a month or something like that. So I see all you people who have unsubscribed to my newsletter.
Don't do that.
But some of them are friends of mine, and I can see like, oh, they just don't want, it's like, yeah, I know what you're doing, so you don't have to, show up in my inbox, and I know how good it is to unclutter an inbox. So I respect that. And then I guess, there are other people who are probably just, tired of my shit, and they just don't want to, they don't want to see it. And I could respect that. But looking on the bright side, so I sent out an email. I have an article that's in AIER, the American Institute for Economic Research, and it's the first article that I put that I've written for them. So I sent that out. It's called Seth Rogen's Car,
I read that actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Explain that.
Yeah.
That's quite an official publication to write for, man. It sounds like you're a freaking scholar or something.
Right.
American Institute of, what was it? American Institute of
Economic Research. You believe
Jeez.
Believe that.
Like Alexander Hamilton over here.
Yeah, man. Who's going to play me? Which person of color is going to play me in the musical version of my life? But yeah, so I put that out there. So I got dropped. I think I lost probably like over 30 people like unsubscribed to my list.
Really?
But I got a number of people who joined up on my locals, and some people who donated money. So it's
Nice.
like, cool.
Nice.
You lose 30, but then you gain people who actually support your work and want to support it. And I think that's an important part too. It's like, look, my stuff isn't for everybody, and I understand that. The one thing though that I would say though, for anybody out there who's listening, is it's quite possible that you and I in person had great experiences together, but we really differ strongly in our politics or culture and all that. So rather than just view it as like, ooh, Lou has changed, I probably haven't. I'm probably the same, guy that you had a good time with.
Right.
It's just now what I believe on a number of other issues that we never talked about, and I think that's an important thing. And like, for example, recently with I know you've written about this with Patton Oswalt coming down on Dave Chappelle, and somebody who wrote something in response to that is the author Jim Goad. And I don't know if if you guys aren't familiar with Jim Goad. Jim Goad wrote the Redneck Manifesto. He wrote a series called Answer Me. I think it was there's like 4 issues, really controversial. One of them was like a issue about rape. It was like back in, I think, like either the late 80s or early 90s. And he's a controversial dude, to say the least, and a really good writer too. I gotta definitely gotta talk about that. And he has been friends with Patton Oswalt for decades. And Patton Oswalt, it started because Patton Oswalt was a fan of his and reached out to him. So if you go and check out Jim Goad, he's written about in response to the way Patton has treated, Dave Chappelle and that whole thing. Jim Goad has established their relationship, how close they were, that they've had dinner together. They've been a part of forums and in contact with one another. And he's not doing it as a way to say, oh, you should cancel Patton Oswalt. He's expressing it because there is a value that he has in that. Look, I could disagree with you on all this different shit, but if you're good to me in real life as a person, we can get along. And I think that's something that is really important. And I think Jim Goad probably did a much better job of explaining it than I did in that.
No, and that's something we're losing, I think, a little bit. I don't know how prevalent this was in the past. Maybe it's always been this way, but it does seem like a lot of people are like losing friends, losing jobs, losing, like they're not allowed to be in their certain social circles. Like, I want to echo what you said. I think there's a lot of people who've known me for a while, back when I was more left leaning or less politically vocal, and I haven't changed much either. Honestly, I changed a little bit how I view things, and I've learned some things since then and matured. But I'm still the same guy. I'm still the exact same guy that I was years ago. As far as like, if I were to hang out, I'd still make the same jokes. I'd still, I'm fine with you sharing your leftist views. Maybe I'll push back, whatever. But it's okay. Like, I don't care I really don't care if you're a communist. Like, I think like it's I think it's a really misguided ideology, and it has a lot of blood on its hands. But I'm not, I'll still be your friend. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not gonna watch your documentaries that you want me to watch or something, but I'll say, if I know you're a good person and we've had, we connect, why not? But I do feel like it's more of a problem on the left, that there's like an intolerance, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I feel like there's people on the right tend to still maintain connections with people, and when they're willing to talk about things. I feel like the left, the woke left and stuff, especially, has been very seems much more intolerant with any sort of any sort of opinion that they disagree with. It's
I wonder if
religious, it's like a religious faith thing.
I wonder how much of it is geographical as well, because when I lived in New York, people used to ask me all the time, like, oh my God, what's it like being a libertarian in New York? Like that must be crazy. And for one, it was fine, because I had friends of mine who I got along with. I had good friends, close friends. I had a girlfriend and who eventually became my wife and all that. So it was fine. But also, there's something that happens when you're in the minority, ideologically, where you are more open to talk to people who are in the majority. So I wonder and I know someone in particular who's he lives in Tennessee, and it seems like it's the reverse, where he's a guy on the left, and he's got right winger. He's surrounded by right wingers, and they're dicks to him. So he doesn't feel as comfortable, expressing to them. So I don't know. I don't know if it's which side is more intolerable, as opposed to which side is able to be more intolerable because they hold the power.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's interesting. I wonder what you mean by they're dicks to him, though, because one thing's being dicks or busting balls or whatever, but another thing's being like, all right, you're not, I can't associate with you anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I think this guy, he's gotten death threats like that. He's on that. Yeah. I guess that's a dick thing, right?
I guess that qualifies as being a dick.
Yeah, just imagine that. So think about it. Here's Lou Perez. He's describing the situation about this guy dealing with dicks, but in the behind that is the fact that this guy's dealt with death threats. Yeah. Kind of undercut that.
Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard anything like that. I mean, I've heard of conservatives giving death threats and DMs and stuff, and I don't know if I've gotten death threats, but I've gotten a lot of death wishes from the left. I'm sure everybody's said they're going to kill me, but they'll say I hope you die. I can't wait till you die from COVID, and so I'm going to dance when you die. I got it just yesterday. Somebody tweeted me that. And it was just like, all right.
Well, you know what? Over the past few days, I've been seeing a lot of that when it comes to Senator Rand Paul, and it's a go-to. It's a go-to line on Twitter where it's like, "Oh, I wish Rand Paul's neighbor would have finished the job," or today we remember Rand Paul's neighbor and all that. And for those of you who don't know, Rand Paul was attacked by his neighbor. Apparently he was blindsided by his neighbor and ended up fucking up the neighbor ended up fucking up his rib. The neighbor was arrested. I think there was a whole court case. I'm not sure if the neighbor is in jail, but I think he had to pay out a lot of money to Rand Paul. Wow. And it's used as a go-to example, like a joke about, here is Rand Paul, whom all these people disagree with and can't stand. So what we're going to invoke is the guy who who attacked him. But the person that they never talk about is the guy who shot up the baseball field where Rand Paul was playing baseball that time. And I believe that guy's last name is Hodgkinson or something like that. And for those who don't know, some years back, this guy, who apparently was a Bernie supporter, but it's not Bernie's fault at all for what this fucking guy did. He went to a baseball field and he shot up the Republican baseball team. He ended up hitting Scalise, who had to undergo surgery and all that, and ultimately this shooter was taken out. But it's a thing. We have the term chicken hawk for people who support wars they will never fight in. Yeah. And then there's got to be another word for people who support political violence they don't have the balls to carry out themselves. And
chicken shits.
Yeah, chicken shits or something, because that's where it is. And I
just made that up. I don't know.
Man.
That's a new one, Lou.
Yeah.
But no, I started laughing.
I can't stand that shit. Yeah,
I started laughing because I thought about your Chicken Hawk sketch, man, and I just watched it the other day. Dude, that freaking dude, that fucking your character is hilarious. Like fucking classic Vietnam vet in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
his legs stopped working because he was on the toilet too long.
He was my character was tweeting from the toilet and his legs fell asleep permanently. So
I was dying, dude.
He was serving his country on the toilet, tweeting out all this shit.
He lost the use of his legs.
Yeah, but I feel I feel like there are way too many people who make light of political violence. And then,
they do.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's funny. I'll tell you about transformation I had, like the punch the Nazi thing, and I remember because I was still on the left at that point. Like I was still definitely I was really concerned about Trump and, during that 2016 election. And I thought he was real funny in the beginning. I was like, this is hilarious. He's just totally shredding Ted Cruz and Jeb and everybody. It was funny. It was funny to watch, especially if you're on the left. But, but then, wait, what was I talking about?
The punch the Nazis.
Punch the Nazis. That's right. Yeah. So, so then at some point, I don't know if it was during that year or the year after, you start seeing some white supremacist guy come out or neo-Nazi guy come out. I think it was Spencer. And I was like, well, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what the hell is this shit? Nazis? Like, get the fuck out of here. And I still agree, fuck Nazis, get the fuck out of here. This is not in America. But I was totally we should I said something on social media. I was like, yeah, somebody should Captain America jaw that fucking Nazi, something like that. And, but now I see the error of my ways in that, because what happened is afterwards is the media and influencers and whoever on the left kind of just says anybody who's a conservative is basically a Nazi, or or anybody who wears a red hat is a Nazi or something, just because they're conservative. I have family members who are, support Trump and they're conservatives, and I know they're really good people. I know they're not racist. I know that they're Latinos, and I know they're not racist. I know they are not Nazis. Far from it. They actually one of them served in the Marines, or a couple of them did. It's bullshit to say something like that. And so you can weaponize that kind of language, where all right, everybody to the right of, whatever, the right of CNN is a Nazi or a neo-Nazi or Nazi adjacent. So we get to be violent towards them. Yeah. And that's where things get ugly. And that's really a place we shouldn't go. And I think it just speaks to the general it's very the toxic level of politics in general, on the extremes on the left and the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it was very disconcerting around that time, and I remember because I was there for the inauguration. I was there covering it, trying to come up with some funny videos, man on the street stuff, and I was so bummed out. I was so bummed out from what I was seeing, violence in the streets and all that. And the meme, the punch the Nazi meme, because I knew what was coming. The definition of Nazi was going to be expanded so much that, you turn around and it's there are Nazis everywhere because you expanded that definition.
Right. I've been called a Nazi. Geez, I think just for tweets or articles. I feel like I've been called a Nazi probably 20 times or something at least.
Yeah, I've been called. I think I was called alt-right by somebody who had known for years, and it's do you know what that means? Alt-right. It's do you really think that I want a separate white ethno state? That's what I want.
My dad looks like freaking Chief Sitting Bull. So, and I'm very close to my dad. I love my dad very much. So we're not estranged or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not down with a white ethno state.
Yeah. Well, but also we've reached a point where it's so ridiculous, right? The idea that you're going to accuse somebody of effectively being a white supremacist or a Nazi and then expect them to have a nice conversation with you.
Right. Or to be open to your ideas or open to your views whatsoever.
Yeah, and I told this person, I said, it's a shame that you can't choose between being stupid and being mentally ill. You got both of them, and she does. She's got both of them. Yeah. Without saying what her name is. She's a person who couldn't hack it in comedy. She's not funny, so she ended up doing burlesque, because it's like, if people won't laugh at her jokes, they'll laugh at her goofy body. And but notice
it's funny, but I bet you she deserves this, though. I bet you she deserves it. But it's coming. What she said,
and it's coming from, you've accused me of being a fucking white supremacist,
right?
And it's like,
that's your reputation, that's your life. Yeah.
Once you do that, like, there's no more rules as far as what I can point out, and that's the thing. I think the ad hominem attacks, don't make ad hominem attacks. Like, well, no, it gets to a point where somebody, says something that is so revolting, or makes such a revolting accusation, where you gotta fight back and you gotta push back. And it's like, no, you've lost any semblance of respect.
There's got to be consequences for that stuff too. Like, you can't just go around destroying people's reputations and lives with lies and labels that are very unfair. Like, there's nothing remotely Nazi like that I've ever said in my life, really. Like, or on Twitter or anything like that. Like, we've, me and my friends in the past, we made racial jokes about everybody, just like everybody does, and everybody's BSing if they've never done that before. But no, we're not racist people. Like, with my Latino friends, I have a Mexican friend, a Dominican friend, my friends in Costa Rica, they even speak English. And, we just make like inappropriate jokes and stuff, whatever. But it's like, we're just joking, just jokes between guys. That's what guys do, and like, there seems to be a real tack on that, like on like guys just being guys, joking around, things you say, like they try to catch you saying this, saying that, look at this tweet from 20 years ago. It's like, everybody used to do this, and guys still do. And I think it's good for men to do that, because men need to kind of share their feelings and share their ideas so they can check each other. Be like, all right, whoa, that's a little too far. Or like, dude, like, are you really saying like something like, you kind of sound like you're a Nazi now. Like, and that's a way to bring people back in. Like, oh shit, my bad. Maybe I'm reading things I shouldn't be reading. Like, that's important for men to do that. And if it's like to the point where like you can't even have like a private conversation, without somebody like, trying to destroy your whole reputation, that's not good. That's not good for anybody, because then these guys go to 8chan or 4chan or wherever the hell they go, and then they're just constantly surrounded by people who are very extreme. And then what do you think they do after a while? Like, one of them is going to be mentally unhinged, or a couple of them will, and one of them is going to they're going to be like, you know what, it's time for me to do something about this. And then you see them on the news. So it's important for guys to be able to talk to each other, and there's to be freedom of speech and push back and let people share their ideas and not destroy them forever for having a dumb idea when they're in their 20s or something, or saying a joke that was considered inappropriate now. It's I think we're kind of destroying the room and the space for people to kind of learn from their mistakes, and just verbally, and without, instead of destroying like their whole reputation and careers. And what do they do after that? What do they do after that? Like, especially if they're a performer or something like that, it's like it's, and they're just like, that's their kind of their calling. And then, then they're like, all right, now you're ostracized from Hollywood or ostracized from the show business. And it's like, all right, now what are they going to do?
Well, I mean, I would say, look, if somebody's actually a Nazi, okay,
of course.
But the problem is when they're not. The problem is when they're not. So,
but the thing is, my point is, of course, if they're actually a Nazi, like, they better figure, get their way back towards the middle. It's someone's a Nazi. You're like, wow, like tell me your story, bro. I gotta hear how you came. Yeah.
How you came to this point.
I don't know anybody. And I know a lot of people from different walks of life, and I don't know anybody who's an actual Nazi. I know some communists. Actually know some communists, which is crazy to me, because if you read any history, you would consider that kind of a crazy thing to be.
Yeah, you know what? As communists as they are, I bet they're really happy that they don't actually have to be living under communism, that they get to live under whatever the fuck they're living under right now. Before we have a few more minutes. One thing I want to talk about is your career a few years ago. You were doing commentary about soccer. Was it Major League Soccer or?
Yeah, it was Major League Soccer, mainly focused on the on New York City FC, the new club that kind of was announced in 2013. It was established in 2015. They started playing in 2015, I should say. And they play in Yankee Stadium. They also play in Mets City Field sometimes. They sometimes play in Red Bull Arena now. They're kind of all over the place because they don't have their own stadium yet. And that's kind of like the ongoing joke for the club. But they're also the reigning champions. They just won MLS Cup for the first time a couple months ago in December. So that was really big for the club and the fans who've kind of suffered a bit. And they brought a title back to New York, which hasn't happened in a while, if I'm not mistaken, to New York City. So, but yeah, I was doing that for a while. I was like one of the first, I think the first columnist that actually focused on New York City FC back in 2013. And I was under the Twitter account, Nasha Chavez, like my nickname, and like Nostradamus, because I predicted how many season tickets they'd have in their first season. And I never let that go. And anyway, so I was writing for like some different publications that are now defunct, like kind of independent publications, and including and later on NYCFC Nation and SB Nation. But and I did a podcast with them as well. And I stopped doing that. I think 2019, I think was our last year we did the podcast. And since then I've been kind of ruminating and working, but also like thinking about, I'm really passionate about kind of the political situation right now and the social situation. I have been for a long time, like identity politics, like you mentioned. I've been bothered by that for a long time. Since high school, when there was like little elements of like intersectional feminism that I thought was a little excessive. So anyways, I recently kind of got back into writing again. And that's why I'm at scoontv.com right now, contributing for them. And, I might be writing for some other publications soon and maybe doing some video content. But yeah, I've been wrote a couple articles for them. Just started like last month, I think, really, and writing mainly like political, social commentary stuff. Actually, just happened to write a lot about comedians. But it just so happened to be that way. It's not going to be always the case.
Got it. And did you were you a soccer player yourself? Is that how you got into it?
No, I wasn't. I wish I was. I kind of got into it later. I played for fun, like my 20s and stuff, did some intramural, but I wish I kind of got into it earlier. But my brother played and he kind of got me into it more. Just being Costa Rican made me feel like, got me into the game more because Costa Rica had some success in World Cups that, like, they're kind of like a big, like Mighty Mouse and a lot of World Cups, especially the 2014 one. We did really well. We got to the quarterfinals. We beat Italy, we beat England, we beat Uruguay.
Wait, really?
Yeah, in the group stages, we topped. It was the group of death. We topped it. The group of champions, I think it was called, because they're all former world champions.
Holy
Uruguay,
shit.
England, and Italy.
Who won that year? Was that Spain? Who won?
2014 was Germany, I think.
Oh, would Germany beat Argentina?
Maybe. Yeah. Shit, I don't even remember.
I'm trying to think because when I met,
or maybe it's the Netherlands. I forget who they played. They beat.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because my I had, let's see, I think my wife had just moved to LA to be with me. We were just dating at the time, and then it was Germany and Argentina.
Yeah, it was Germany and Argentina. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
And
that's right.
And I watched that game. Like I think it was at a place in downtown LA, and when they lost, I fucking cried like a baby. And let me tell you. I'm the guy who would always make fun of dudes who were way too into sports, who were like, oh my God, and all that. And then when they lost, I broke down crying because for me, my dad's from Argentina. So when I associate with, Argentine football, I associate with my dad. So it was sort of it was sort of that thing. And oh my God, it broke my heart. I was, wearing the jersey and both of us were wearing, my wife and I were both wearing jerseys. As far as the games go, you got to take me to a game.
Oh yeah, we should go. Yeah, we should definitely go to
a game.
We should go to a Red Bull game. Honestly, let's do that. We should do that. Yeah, we should go to, because that's like that's usually a big game. The Red Bull fans will come over from New Jersey, and it's usually a pretty heated rivalry. The stadium will get pretty filled. I expect attendance to be a little better this year in Yankee Stadium because they're champs.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of New York, like kind of, or more, it's definitely gotten more media coverage. Like big papers are putting it out and stuff. De Blasio's sorry ass was putting stuff out there, and then he had him at City Hall. So I think, I think there's probably going to be some more people for that game. And they're usually, when it first started, there was like 45,000 people.
Wow.
I think opening day, and like some of the Red Bull games too were like that, like 40,000, something like that. And it would be like between 20 and 30,000 per game.
Wow.
But then started to drop off like recently. Obviously because of COVID as well.
Yeah. I've never watched an MLS game live, but when in college, I studied abroad in Madrid. So I got to see Real Madrid play. Yeah, they played Molotov, which was like a Russian, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not Molotov. Excuse me, Lokomotiv.
Lokomotiv. That's right. Yeah. I was trying to think of the name. I'm like, I know what you're saying. Yeah, Lokomotiv. Yeah, it's a Champions League. You probably saw then. Yeah, European. I lived in Madrid for a couple of months, and I'm a big Real Madrid fan. That's why I was over there.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and it's one of those things where you don't have to necessarily be into a sport to enjoy a live event like that.
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, Real Madrid loves Champions League games, as most big clubs do in Europe. But I mean, it's such a cathedral. I mean, it's the greatest club of all time, Real Madrid. They're I think like 13-time Champions League title winners, which is like well above anybody else. I think like Milan's got the second most at like 7, so like they're almost like double Milan. This is a great club it's been like a standard bearer for decades, and like their stadium's got like 80,000 people filled up, and it's a beautiful stadium, beautiful city. We should definitely go see New York City FC. That'd be fun, Lou. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I'm totally down to do that. And my son, my oldest son is getting older. We're all getting older. Even the younger one's getting older. And I think it would be cool to
bring the boy.
See how he would do at at that. He's going to be 2 in March, so maybe when the weather gets nicer.
That'd be great, man. I'd love to. That'd be fun. Yeah, I'll show you the ropes, I guess.
Awesome. Camino Chavez, thank you for joining me. Let's get some plugs out there. Where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter mainly, at El Camino Chavez. I'm on Locals now because Lou invited me, so maybe you'll see some of my stuff there. I just jumped on Getter just in case. I jumped the Joe Rogan train.
We all did.
Yeah, we all did.
We're all on it.
We're all sheeple. So we all follow what Joe Rogan says. I've been taking ivermectin every day, and
I'm getting tattoos. I don't know what they're
DMT.
of, but I'm getting them.
Yeah, I got a tattoo of Joe Rogan's face on my ass. So yeah, a lot of good. So you can find me there, El Camino Chavez, pretty much everywhere. I might be doing some video content soon, so look out for that. But yeah, I'm just starting out. So look out for more. I'll be talking a lot of trash on Twitter and sharing my articles a million times.
That's it, man. We are not alone. I got my Latino brother with me. We're gonna take over. We're gonna take over Twitter.
Latinx.
That's it. We are the Latinx men. Me, you, Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted Cruz.
AOC, we are crossing all boundaries, man. There are no political boundaries. It's just all Latinx. That's what it's all about.
Latinx, man. That's it, man. The AOC can be storm.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. Again, please subscribe, leave a 5-star review. That would be lovely. Keep your eye out for my book, my forthcoming book, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. And please sign up for my newsletter at thelouperez.com. And if you want to support my work, join the Lou Perez community on Locals. That's thelouperez.locals.com. You'll get access to all my stuff before anybody else, as well as exclusive content, and of course, me. Be sure to support my sponsors, PalomaVerdeCBD.com. Use promo code LOU for 25% off purchases over $75, and Black Organic Cold Brew, BLVCKBREW.com. Promo code LOU for free shipping. Okay, I'm going to keep that in.